What's happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update as we're now seeing things heating up for Attorney General Merrick Garland. He's now finding himself back in the hot seat, back in those headlines as the House committee is now passing that contempt of Congress resolution on Merrick Garland in order to, sift out the information that they've been looking for on these vital, high-profile investigations on Donald Trump, guys. That's all they're looking for. Despite the subpoenas, Merrick Garland has not adhered whatsoever. He is not complying. He only makes a bunch of excuses and says that, he does not have to adhere to these subpoenas because it will ruin his further probes in the future going forward. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. And in turn, he's finding himself in a world of trouble, guys. I'm excited to get into the update, see exactly what type of commotion Merrick Garland has caused for himself behind these subpoenas, not adhering to them. So we're going to get straight to the update and I'll give my thoughts on the back end, guys. So definitely stick around to the end. Just get my thoughts on the back end. And also, YouTube, push this video out. Definitely stick around until the end, you guys. Yo, let's get straight into the news. Before we do that, though, make sure you guys hit that like button for me and also hit that subscribe button, guys. We're on the road to the truth. Hop aboard for the journey. Yo, let's get into it, y'all.
The Attorney General thought he was above the law and did not comply, not just with one subpoena, but with two subpoenas. Those are subpoenas from both Chairman Jordan and Chairman Comer. I want to read this to you because ultimately, if in 10 days the Department of Justice does not do their job and hold the Attorney General responsible, just like they would any other American, I think that it should be our job in the House of Representatives to bring an inherent contempt proceeding against the Attorney General.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess so much for that argument. Leftoids, Democrats, can no longer say this anymore. We've heard it a million times. No one is above the law. No one is above the law. Well, of course, as per usual, if Democrats didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. What they mean when they say that is, no one is above the law, except for us and our friends. What an absolute farce. That's exactly what's happening right now. The GOP House is trying to get information about Merrick Garland's various investigations. They're probing. What they're doing is oversight, which is literally their job. And Merrick Garland is refusing to comply. Can anybody say criminal contempt? Well, I certainly can. Again, it's nothing but complete double standards. There's a standard for Trump and then no standard for Democrats at all. Let's take a look at what's currently going on. I'm going to update you guys on everything. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here's the latest headline. Merrick Garland faces contempt votes in congressional subpoena standoff. Republicans are saying that Merrick Garland has impeded Biden impeachment inquiry. The purpose of the inquiry and the subpoena involving Merrick Garland and the DOJ is to investigate potential political bias and ensure accountability. That's the whole point. Republicans want transparency regarding the handling of these high-profile cases. They're seeking documents, communication, and testimonies from Garland and other DOJ officials to determine if there's any misconduct or undue influence in these investigations. The goal, of course, is to ensure that the DOJ is operating with impartiality. And obviously, this is an important task. It's an important oversight task. The goal is to eventually, with these steps, slowly restore trust in the justice system and these three-letter agencies. Merrick Garland's DOJ has been subpoenaed, and here was his response.
The Justice Department is a fundamental institution of our democracy. People depend on us to ensure that our investigations and our prosecutions are conducted according to the facts and the law and without political influence. We have gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure that the committees get responses to their legitimate requests. But this is not one. To the contrary, this is one that would harm our ability in the future to successfully pursue sensitive investigations. Now, there have been a series of unprecedented and frankly unfounded attacks on the Justice Department. This request, this effort to use contempt as a method of obtaining our sensitive law enforcement files is just the most recent. The effort to threaten to defund our investigations and the way in which there are contributions to an atmosphere that puts our agents and our prosecutors at risk, these are wrong. Look, the only thing I can do is continue to do the right thing. I will protect this building and its people.
Gentlemen, why don't we respond?
Go ahead. You kind of answered this just now, but I was wondering, like, what this combined with the efforts to defund Jack Smith and the other attacks on Biden administration officials say about, the broader effort to discredit you and to discredit the Justice Department, and also how do you manage that? How are you resisting that? And what can you do about that as Attorney General?
We have to go about our work following the federal principles of prosecution. As I said, we follow the facts and the law. We screen out outside inappropriate influences. That's what we're doing here. We're protecting our ability to continue to do high-profile and sensitive investigations, and we will continue to do that.
Mr.
Harry, last question.
It now seems the odds now seem vanishingly small that the two Jack Smith federal cases are going to begin trial, let alone finish trial, this year. What does that say about the pace of the justice system and confidence in this Justice Department?
Look, the special counsel brought both cases last year. He appropriately requested speedy trials. The matter is now in the hands of the judiciary, and I'm not going to be able to comment.
So much for no one is above the law, huh? Apparently no one's above the law except for Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Merrick Garland, Jack Smith and his cronies, Fani Willis. Nobody's above the law except for the DNC and their friends. And what an idiotic argument from Merrick Garland. Who does he think he is to be able to personally decide what's legitimate inquiry and what isn't? We've responded to all the questions from Congress, but this one is illegitimate. Not only does this guy believe that he's above the law, but he believes that he's above democracy. He goes on and on about institutions of democracy and this, that, and the other. But here you have a democratically elected Congress that's currently in control by the Republican Party inquiring about potential misconduct and political bias at the DOJ, and he says that that's somehow undemocratic and illegitimate. What an absolute fool. Again, these Democrats believe they're God. They believe that they get to make these decisions. I've never seen anything like it. Let's have a conversation about constitutional oversight. Congress has a constitutional duty to oversee the executive branch. The entire purpose of oversight, or an oversight committee, is to ensure that actions align with the law and, most importantly, public interest. Adhering to these subpoenas upholds the principles of rule of law. No one, including high-ranking government officials, are above the law. He has a constitutional duty to adhere to the subpoena and to play ball with these oversight investigations, but he argues the exact opposite is true, and that only he gets to decide what is fair and what isn't. It's unreal. And again, this comes from the administration that Jen Psaki touted as being the most transparent in American history. So transparent that they refused to comply with oversight requests from the Oversight Committee. Apparently so transparent that Jack Smith in his case against Donald Trump tried to hide all kinds of relevant documents and fought tooth and nail with Judge Aileen Cannon to keep most of those documents redacted, which of course turned out, at least in my opinion, to be an act of high corruption. No one is above the law. Much transparency. This is what we hear coming out of these criminals time and time again. This constant virtue signaling when it benefits them, but then of course when it's their turn, they prove themselves to be complete hypocrites time and time again. It's unbelievable, and it's issue after issue. We have another example from just last week. The DOJ announced that it will not be releasing Robert Hur's interview with President Joe Biden. They're blocking it from the public. You know, the interview that led to Robert Hur essentially dropping the charges, dropping the case, because Joe Biden was a feeble old man with poor memory. Well, again, what about the Biden administration's commitment to transparency? Blocking the release of this important interview kind of contradicts their commitment and undermines the administration's credibility. During investigations into Donald Trump's actions, the DOJ has often argued for transparency and the public's right to know, even when Trump's legal team asserted attorney-client privilege. In the investigation into Trump's handling of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, the DOJ emphasized the need for transparency and accountability. But when it comes to the investigation into Joe Biden's handling of classified documents, they argue attorney-client privilege and executive executive privilege. There's no equal treatment. Donald Trump gets charged even though he's holding his own documents from his own time in office, and Joe Biden doesn't. That's the key fact here. Joe Biden gets all the privilege benefits, and Donald Trump doesn't. Everything gets released. And then, of course, on top of all of it, there's constant leaks. Let's also not forget the mishandling of evidence and prosecutorial misconduct, where they raided his home and then mismanaged all of the evidence in all of the boxes, creating a beautiful display that they took a photo of and then released it to the freaking media. These people are unbelievable, and Merrick Garland gives his defense, claiming he cannot abide by this subpoena and this oversight investigation because the credibility of his investigation apparently depends on it. No, absolutely not. That is nonsense. The exact opposite is true. The credibility of the justice system depends on transparency with the public and cooperation with oversight investigations. That is the entire purpose, and that is the democratic will of the people who have elected a Republican House majority. Merrick Garland should be held in criminal contempt of Congress. His argument makes no sense, and it continues to build further evidence as to just how corrupt and biased the DOJ has become under Joe Biden's leadership.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Coming from our friend Liberal Hive Mind. I'll definitely be sure to leave that original video link down in the description box below. For those who want to go over there and check that out. Also, you guys go over there and show our friend Liberal Hive Mind a bit of love. Oh my goodness, guys. We're seeing the walls closing in on Attorney General Merrick Garland in this clip, guys. What an update, guys. This guy is trying to, go off and say that by him adhering to those subpoenas that he would be, tainting his cases, these sensitive and high level, high profile cases. Garland here is insisting that, him being transparent and handing over the information that has been subpoenaed by the oversight committees would taint and ruin his cases. This notion by Merrick Garland makes absolutely no sense, you guys. We can see straight through. This is all corruption. This is more of that gaslighting tactic coming from the left, where they're trying to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. They think, no one realizes that this is blatant, cover up job for corruption. And in all honesty, we've seen this play slash tactic played out before right in front of our eyes. We've seen this used by Jack Smith. He tried to use this on Eileen Cannon, the classified documents case, where we've seen Jack Smith trying to redact and hide all the information evidence that would show that this case was politically motivated, and that this wasn't brought about solely by Jack Smith, or the evidence that he had obtained on Donald Trump that it led him believe that, he had mishandled these classified documents. And this is exactly what we're seeing here. Got Merrick Garland trying to hide behind, government classifications and saying this is a high profile case. And this would further harm, us in our investigations going further on these sensitive topics, because we're not supposed to be, just turning over evidence or what we found or why we're bringing about these cases. And it's the complete opposite. You're supposed to be able to have the oversight committee to keep that trust and faith within the DOJ. Let's be honest, guys. Merrick Garland could have made this whole thing very sweet and simple by just adhering to the subpoenas, but instead he thinks he's above the subpoenas, saying that they are illegitimate. I've answered all the legitimate questions about our investigations, but these are illegitimate questions, and you don't have, the authority to be questioning me in that manner. And it just doesn't make sense. His thought process right there. As the Attorney General, he is supposed to adhere to all subpoenas, on oversight and accountability, especially when it comes to those high profile investigations. We need to make sure your investigations are legitimate. But Merrick Garland doesn't want the House Oversight Committee snooping off into his investigations, because we already know what will be found, guys. We're going to find that this was all set up by the DOJ, Biden administration, and ultimately revealing that these cases were not brought about by evidence that was, found on Donald Trump, but rather, people who have, strung along and pieced together, these cases, made it look like they had a case on Donald Trump. That's half the reason why most of these cases are just falling apart without Donald Trump doing much, defense at all. We've seen this one playing out time and time again when they're bringing about these charade cases in the real court of law. They fall apart very quickly because you have to have so many different parts on your side in order for it to work correctly, and they just don't understand at that part of our judicial system. They think they can weaponize it, and no one will realize what they're trying to do. Now we've got Merrick Garland coming out in this update trying to play the victim and say that this is all illegitimately brought about against him. The House Oversight Committee should not have, been subpoenaing him whatsoever, looking into his investigation, guys. It looks like Merrick Garland may be at the end of his road. So once we get, the information on his investigations, things may be turning in Donald Trump's favor? Definitely hop in the comment section, guys, and let me know your thoughts on this one. You guys think we'll see Attorney General Merrick Garland handing over the information evidence to the House Oversight Committee? That was subpoena he ignored previously 2 different times, or you guys think he's not going down without a fight? Definitely hop in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this one, guys. Also, make sure you guys hit that share button and share this out to as many Facebook friends as possible, guys. Share the truth. Also, make sure you guys hit that like button. It doesn't cost for one thing, guys. Hit that like button for your boy. Also, hit that subscribe button, guys. We're on the road to the truth. Hop aboard for the journey. I'll catch you guys on the next one. We go.